Hey, welcome to the Milwaukee Music Lessons Podcast. My name is Alex Bennett.
And I'm Robyn Bennett.
Episode number 12, we are getting in here, and it is basically the end of summer at this point, which means that we have a lot of people who are coming in from school. A lot of kids sign up their parents. No, I got that backwards. Lots of parents sign up their kids.
I would love to get one of those phone calls.
That'd be interesting.
Hi, my dad needs a hobby. Can you imagine?
If it ever happens, we'll bring them on as a podcast guest. Let me know how it went, kid. So a lot of parents are signing up their kids. That's how you would say that properly around this time of year, and so we thought this would be kind of a cool time to maybe address some, I guess, like common issues with practice that a lot we see with parents trying to get their kids to go in and practice. But I wanted to start off. I had two common misconceptions or maybe bugaboos or like things that we see consistently enough that maybe would be worth just like addressing right out of the bag.
Okay.
And so
Bugaboo.
Robyn has no idea what these are.
I have no idea.
I'm just throwing these on her right now. So I guess we'll find out how much you agree with me. I think you'll agree with me on both of these options.
Okay.
So basically, number one, like misconception or bugaboo number one, which is that parents who, like, you need to make your kids practice, right? You can't just rely on your kids wanting to practice. How do you feel about that?
If you're going to pay for lessons as a parent, you better make sure your kid practices. Like, that's how I would feel about it. Be like, I'm paying for this. You're going to get the most out of it. So you're going to sit down and practice. I think as a parent, it's helpful to get the ball rolling. And if it's your kid who is wanting these and you say, okay, we'll try it for 6 months, right? You need to help them establish the habit and you need to help them maintain, I don't know,
some sort of consistency.
Yeah. So as a parent, part of your job is to make sure that they're fulfilling their duty as a student. So if it's schoolwork, they're coming home with that. It's your duty to help them get all their work done so that they can be successful the following day. Same thing with lessons. It's part of your job to, if they haven't practiced, you should be like, okay, you should practice before we have TV time or something like that.
Well, the two most common pushbacks I get from parents are like, one, I want my kid to enjoy their instruments and not feel like it's a burden, right? They want to bestow the joy of music onto them. And then like number two would be like, I want to teach my kid the value of like discipline. And so I want them to want it. But it's like, for both of those things, it's like first of all, you don't enjoy most things that you're not good at.
Correct.
And getting good at something usually requires a consistent time investment in something.
Yeah, you have to spend a lot of time working on something to get good at it, and then you're going to enjoy it. Not everyone enjoys the journey.
Sure, certainly. And most things I think nowadays that people are good at, they're usually like there's ways of disguising the pain and frustration along the way. A lot of like video games have a great reputation for having very easy barriers of entry because there's always like the easiest possible level or the easiest possible way to be able to do this in scaling difficulty, and it's done in a way that like you're mesmerized, whether that's by like the graphics or the world or the environments and things like that. And so for even like little kids, they're willing to invest and dump lots of time in something that, are they always beating the games? No. In fact, like when I was a kid and I was playing video games, I'm like most of the games that I played as a kid, I never actually beat, but I still enjoyed playing the games along the way. Versus like most instruments are not like that. They require, steady like consistent practice and play. Like it's like most
Right.
skills, it's a time invested thing.
Right, yeah.
Now that doesn't mean that you shouldn't find ways to make it easier, make it more enjoyable. And that's the stuff that we're going to talk about in the next portion of the podcast. But there's still like, you still have to say, I'm going to show up consistently in order to get the results that that you want.
And as a parent, it behooves you to show them how to be consistent. And that's just a whole nother skill that they're learning, is just, I want to do this, or I said I wanted to do this. Here's how you get there. Okay, we're going to be consistent. And maybe before you sign them up for the lessons, you talk with them about what signing up for lessons means.
Yeah.
Right? That means we're getting an instrument. That means that you're going to sit down with a teacher once a week. That means that when you're at home, you're practicing. And it doesn't have to be an hour every night.
No, in fact, it definitely shouldn't be at the beginning. 10 to
20 minutes.
Yeah, it shouldn't
every
be.
day, you know?
We usually preach 20 for 20. That's kind of our motto. So the 20 for 20 is, in the first 4 weeks of lessons, you should have 20 days that you practice 20 minutes. So that comes out to an average of 5 days a week, right? So, you know, even if you're only practicing during the weekday, if you're taking the weekends off, right, that's fine. But you're getting an average of 20 minutes per day across, you know, the first 28 days that you're doing, and 20 of those. I mean, I think that's a pretty reasonable approach for most people.
Yeah, some people spend more than that on homework.
100%. And there's some people too who at the beginning, like, they're like, I do an hour a day every day. And those people are awesome. Those people are going to progress faster
Yeah, they are.
than the people who do the 20 minutes, right? But you know, you have to establish that level of consistency at the beginning. So, So anyway, so that was my kind of
Okay, that was number one.
That was myth number one. Yeah.
Or like, number one.
Yeah.
Got
Bugaboo number one.
Bugaboo. Where did this word come from?
I don't know. It just rolls off the tongue. I don't know what to tell you.
Spent time in New Orleans lately?
Nolans.
Sorry.
So bugaboo number 2, which is that there are certain beginner instruments that you have to start with. I think we hear this all the time on piano.
Yeah.
Especially, there's a lot of people who say, you know, piano has to be the starter instrument.
Sure.
I know I was in that camp. My dad was like, I really wanted to learn guitar and drums, which I ended up doing eventually, right? But there was a time frame where I lost my interest in music because my dad forced me to do 3 years worth of piano. So I did piano for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade.
Yeah.
And I just kind of lost my interest because I was like, I really want to learn guitar or drums, and Dad won't let me.
Talk about forcing your kid to do something they don't want.
Sure.
Like, at least if it's an instrument that they feel they chose, then forcing them to practice isn't as bad as if it's, no, I'm choosing the instrument and I'm choosing what time of day you're doing everything. You know, with kids, it's, you have to... Not everything has to be their choice, but as they get older, they need more choices. And as an adult, it's your job to provide those choices. And whether it's 2 or 3 choices, you have to be happy with whatever choice they make. So if you wouldn't be happy with them making the choice, don't give them that choice. Right? If it's snowing outside and I said to our son, be like, okay, do you want to play inside or you want to play outside? And he goes, outside. And I'm like, crap, I really didn't want him to choose outside. But I gave him that choice. So you have to be okay with what their choice is.
Yeah, and then also, you know, going outside comes with certain responsibilities. Like we put on a hat and coat and mittens and boots, right? We don't go outside without those things because you're going to get frostbite. You know, it's that's not good.
Right.
So you have to understand like what those choices come with, right? And the same thing comes with like the musical instruments, you know, going back to the first point, right? That comes with the practice time.
Right.
But
or even like the upkeep of the instrument or things like that.
Absolutely. But also too, going back to point number 2 here, which is like I see this all the time on guitar. I hear that, well, starter guitar players always start off on acoustic guitar. And it's like, that's not really true. I mean, I started off on an electric guitar because I was interested in many styles of music that use that. I wanted blues and rock and metal.
Right, and that's electric.
And that's electric, yeah. Like 98% of the time, that's electric. So.
Right. Boogie, woogie, woogie. Mm-hmm. I got to say it this time.
Nice. As opposed to bugaboo.
Oh, Joy.
Okay.
You gotta stop.
So, getting past my dad humor and my outrageous points, those were kind of the 2 like things I want to just establish right at the beginning, because I said, I think some parents are stuck on that, and it might sound like I'm being. I hope it doesn't come across as like us being pretentious about the subject or being like really nitpicky and whatnot. Yeah. All we can do is just show what we see, because the statistics show that like the amount of time that you put in is going to determine what your odds of success are, right? Mm-hmm. The more time, it's a big flywheel, right? Like it's a hard push at the beginning, and so the more time you put into it, the better you get, which makes you more likely to want to keep doing it and playing and practicing more and more and more. Mm-hmm. And so that's going to point number 1. Point number 2 is don't make that any harder than you have to. Give the kids something that they're actually interested in. If they're interested in piano, then put them on piano. If they're interested in guitar, then find out what type of guitar you need to get. Do you need electric or acoustic? If they're interested in voice, then start them on voice or drums. If they're interested in violin, tuba, trombone, whatever, like give them what they're interested in, because that's going to be that's just going to make it easier instead of feeling like you have to make them practice. Right.
Yeah. I think if they get to choose their instrument, then the making them practice part is going to be easier.
Yeah. It won't always be easy.
No, it won't.
There'll be some days that they're like, I don't want to do this. They've been stuck on something for a long time, and it's frustrating. But like, when you have a big goal, something that you've had to spend a couple weeks on, maybe even a couple months on, right? When you do finally accomplish that goal, that sense,
it feels so good.
That euphoria that, that comes over you, that wave, it's like, oh man, like that was tough, but that was worth it.
And not only are we building like good habits, consistency, it's the grit, right? The stick with itness that you're building in your kids, and how great did it feel that you finally played that song all the way through without any mistakes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So that sense of excitement and accomplishment really just gives that wheel another push of, I'm going to keep going and do the next thing, makes them feel even more like they want to practice and do stuff.
And you don't understand how good that feels until you've done it once. Mm-hmm. Once you do it, you're addicted to doing it. Yeah. And then your tolerance for how long you're willing to wait for the payoff goes higher.
Mm-hmm. And in our current era of instant gratification, it's really difficult to train that in the next generation. So
you have to
as
build
parents, you're doing your part.
You have to build it. It's a muscle.
Yeah, you do.
And you can't, like, I'm not saying that at the beginning, you shouldn't try and give kids instant gratification. It is something that we always have to struggle with, and the younger the kid, the more instant the gratification you have to give them. It's a totally different approach teaching a 6-year-old versus teaching an 8-year-old versus teaching a 10-year-old. Even just a year or two's difference makes a huge difference in the approach that you have to take and how much you're willing to let them like go before a payoff comes out.
Yep.
But you should know that like for most instruments to really start feeling that momentum start to pick up, like bare minimum 3 months, but 6 months is what you should really be ready for. And so I think some parents just assume that like, oh yeah, like a month in, we'll test it. It's like, if you saw the last episode, I mentioned on guitar, it's like it's 6 months to a year before you really feel that momentum.
It's like putting your kids into a tumbling class and expecting them to be Simone Biles by the end of a month.
Just ain't gonna happen.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, and we do get that sometimes. We get that from adults, where we'll get adults who will like reach out and they'll be like, "Hey, so I want to sign up for like 3 months of piano and be like, okay, well, what's your goal at the end of 3 months? It's like, okay, well, I want to be able to play like, every Alicia Keys piece or something like that. And it's like, that ain't going to happen in 3 months. It's just not. Unless you're willing to put in an excessive amount of hours. And we tell people up front too, we don't hide it. Like you've seen the messages sometimes that I'll have with people where I'll say like, hey, just understand, like, to get what you want, you're talking 1 to 2 hours of practice a day, every day for these 3 months. And then that's the best chance that you'll get that. That doesn't guarantee your success.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's just, it's not that those things are impossible, but I think a lot of people underestimate the amount of work that goes into it. Mm-hmm. So, but.
For sure.
Anyways, so.
Things for kids.
Getting on to something a little bit more optimistic. I didn't mean to sound that like such a bummer.
Doom and gloomy,
Yeah, I don't mean to sound that doom and gloomy, but I think sometimes expectations.
It's important to be realistic.
I think because I say this sometimes with students too, where it's like the expectation can change things. If your goal, if you walked in and let's use something else like racing. Like let's say you're trying to, run a mile. At a certain time marker, and you're saying like, hey, I want to be able to run a mile in 8 minutes or something like that, okay? Which is not an excessive accomplishment, but it's a good accomplishment, right? And I tell you, okay, well, it's going to take you 6 months of training to do that, versus I tell another person it's going to take you 2 years of training to do that, right? Mm-hmm. And let's say both people accomplish the task in a year. The first person who has the expectation of 6 months is going to feel like they fell short. Sure. And the second person who had the expectation of 2 years is going to feel like they, beat the record by an excessive amount of time. The expectation changes the way that they feel about it because they both accomplish the same task in the same time, but just that mindset is totally going to change, their output. So, anyways.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So going on to like actual tips and tricks and stuff, I'll start with one of my, what I think is probably one of the easiest ones, which is that when your kids are doing homework, instrument practice is part of that homework time.
If it's already part of the routine, it's easier to add on a little bit more to something that's already established than to establish something completely new.
Yeah, definitely. So not just make it part of something that's, that's like chores or homework, something that's on the regular wheel. If your family's really good at like, we always eat dinner at the same time, make it like before dinner, you have to do your 20 minutes worth of practice, or after dinner, you have to do your 20 minutes worth of practice. You can also like gatekeep stuff from there too. If you have kids
use
who are...
it as a reward, or you have to finish your... practice before you can play any video games or watch a show or something.
Watch a show, get on social media, whatever it is that you're letting your kids do, right? Like this is, have you done this yet? Well, then you can't jump on that, right?
Yeah.
So simple stuff.
You have lots of power as a parent.
Yes, you can dictate what they do and do not have access to. Yeah. They might whine, they might complain, but
as a matter of fact, they probably
will complain. And know this from experience. We have a 2-year-old now. We're very aware of how quickly it can turn into complaining, even when it's not something worth complaining about.
Yep. Yeah. One that we've talked about a lot is just another tip would be make the instrument available out in the open so that everyone is thinking about it.
Easy access.
Everything is set up and ready to go. It's not like you're hiding it in some closet where now, you have to practice. Oh, that means that I have to take it out. I have to set everything up. I have to figure out where my music is. Then I got to sit down and do the practice, even though I've already spent 10 minutes doing all this stuff. Yep. It just makes it a longer, more of a chore.
Put it in the most public place possible. If you can get away with putting it in the living room, great, right? If not, in their room. If there's another place that they regularly go to, like if they have a playroom down in the basements or something like that, put it there, wherever they're going to always be seeing it, right? If they have something, if it's like an instrument, something that goes out of the case, right? as soon as you get home, take it out of the case. Don't hide it. Put it up on a stand, right? Invest in a stand. To get something super nice, you can spend like $10 on a used stand. Go to Music Go Round, go get a used stand, right? Pull it out right away. Keep the sheet music nice and out and readily available. Always have it right there. If you can, make copies so you've always got extras. That way, in case the original copy gets lost, we have the habit at our school of always sending out a follow-up email and digital copies of everything that we do.
Yep,
so that way you never have an excuse of like, my dog ate my homework. It's like, well, do you have a computer screen? Do you have a phone? Do you have an iPad? Do you have a printer? Like
everyone does this.
You have some sort of access to the music. You can get to it. Just make it easy to find, easy to access. And you'll be more likely to want to jump into it. Out of sight, out of mind, is a real thing, as the saying goes. Yep.
Yeah.
So keep it within spitting distance. You can pretty much, if you're looking for a great book to help you try and develop good habits, Atomic Habits by James Clear is such a good one.
Yeah.
I've read through that one a couple different times.
Yeah.
And they a lot of the stuff that they talk about, or that he talks about in that book, is like what I'm referencing right now. And so, just if you have a chance, it's not a very long read. Like, you can get through it in a couple hours. But it's just like, it's not that it's not a good book. It's just that it's just
dense.
It's dense. It's so
good. A lot
good.
of information.
Every bit of information is good. Set up. So we were talking about like reward cycles and stuff before. You can also set up long-term reward and have a goal. Cycles. Yeah. So like when I was a kid, I loved going to the music stores and playing all the guitars. And so my grandparents would set up reward systems for me where it was like, well, look, if you learn this song, or if you stick with it this long, or if you do this thing, then we'll give you the money to like go to the music store and get yourself a new guitar. And that was like, whoa.
That is huge.
Oh, tell me about it.
That's very motivating.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Believe me, I know if I could spend $500 at the store of my choice.
Absolutely. That's a good chunk of money.
I would do almost anything, yeah.
That's a good chunk of money. You can also, though, just on the other end of it, you can set up a discipline system where it's like, if you don't reach this. So like we did that.
The carrot and the stick,
We did that not that long ago. Yeah. We did like a weight loss thing where we were trying to lose a little bit of weight each. And we had a 3-month goal. And at the end of it, if we reached the goal, then we each got a reward. And if we didn't reach the goal, then we each got a punishment.
Yep.
So didn't quite make it.
Unfortunately, I got pregnant.
Yeah.
So I didn't get the stick or the carrot. Yep. It was we just called it.
Yep.
No.
She got out of the.
I got out of it.
She got out of it. Yeah. So
ingeniously.
Yeah. Should have checked that clause in the contract. But so like you can also just on the other end, you can come up with a punishment system too.
Yeah.
And you can tell your kids straight up like, hey, if you don't do this for 3 months or whatever. So also like log your practice hours.
Yeah, writing things down makes that extra connection in your brain to physically writing it. You can log it digitally. But
both are good. We have both options available. We always send people home with a physical practice log as well as a digital practice log through our online system. And so we offer both methods that you can use. But like there's a saying, which is that if you don't measure it, it's not important.
Yep.
And that's 100% true. So, measure your kids' practice and make sure that they're actually like writing down their hours. So I know when I was a kid and I had chores to do, there was a thing on the wall that was like, here are your chores. You have to do these every single week.
Yeah.
And as the week went on, I had if I did the chore, then I crossed it off the sheet. And it was also tied to monetary value because I got a allowance, but the allowance was based on what chores I got done. So I think at the time it was like I got like $1 a chore, and there were 5 chores to do. Sure. So it was like at the if I did 3 chores that week, well then I got $3, right? And if I did all 5 of them, then I got $5. Yeah. So there was an incentive to it, but it was good.
Yeah.
So, I had one more, and now I can't remember what the last one was going to be. Do you have any more that you want to add to these?
Be encouraging. Like, as a parent, you're sitting there listening to them practice. Depending on how large or small your house is, you can probably hear them practice. Tell them when they're doing good. Even if they're not doing good, I'm really proud of you for practicing on your own. Like, I didn't have to force you to practice. Great job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, tell a word of encouragement from your parents who are around you is worth so much more than we would think it does. You know, that kind word goes so far.
Yeah, that's a good one for, I mean, pretty much honestly any relationship.
Yeah.
You know, I know, like, in our relationship, just on a personal level, I try to, if you do something that I appreciate it, I try to, like, call it out whenever I can.
I'm like, oh, thank you so much for taking the garbage out.
Right. Yeah. You know, you'll say that type of stuff to me. You know, we have employees, and I try to make sure to constantly, when I see them do something that I appreciate, whether that's just doing the things that I asked or going above and beyond, I always try to call it out whenever I notice it, just because I never want them to feel like it's unappreciated. So, I mean, that's good for, you know, if they're doing something that you like, tell them. Just straight up tell them. Don't feel like it's expected, and so I shouldn't have to thank them. It's like, that's not a good way to think about it. Even if you're right, it's not going to get you the results that you want.
Right.
So.
And even that will bolster the relationship between the student and their instrument. When you say, I see you putting in that effort, or I see you finally were able to go through that, great work. You know, that will give them an extra boost of confidence to want to keep going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember what the last one I was going to say was, which was while overall time invested is the number that you're looking for, it doesn't have to all be in one segment.
Yeah.
So I tell this to a lot of students, which is that when I practiced, I figured out ways of distracting myself when I practiced. So on guitar, for example, much of guitar playing is the dexterity aspect of it. If the last episode, I mentioned a lot about how, like, the mechanics are incredibly intensive and difficult, especially in the early 6 months to a year. And the way that I was kind of able to get past that without having to think about it too much is I would watch reruns of my favorite TV show. And this is back in the days where, like, cable was the norm. There was no streaming services. And so if an hour came on of my TV show, right, I could watch that TV show in the background and just kind of noodle and play around on the guitar, whether that was stuff I already knew or just, like, doing random silly exercises or even just whatever, just putting my finger on a random string and making sure I hit the same string with my right hand. I could start to do that kind of mindlessly after a while. And so in cable, if there's an hour worth of TV, it's actually 40 minutes of the show and then 20 minutes worth of commercials. So I would get 40 minutes of playing plus 20 minutes of practice, if that makes sense. Like,
so you would noodle while the actual program was on, and then during commercials, you would actually do your practice.
Right. I would focus on specific exercises, specific techniques, specific songs, things like that. And so that can be really nice because, one, you're not thinking about the pain and the frustration and things like that. You're distracted. You're giving yourself an out, right? And then also, too, when you know, especially in those small intervals, when you're like, I have 3 minutes to work on this, you work really hard. Now,
you're pairing it with a natural break in, like, a TV show.
100%, yeah. Okay. And so, you know, with kids, I don't know that you can necessarily, like, depending on the age, you know, you can't say, like, cram for 3 minutes and expect them, because for some kids, it's like they might need 3 minutes just to pull out the page and look at a note and, like, get the first thing done. You know, there could be a lot of, like, wasted time, especially with really, really young kids. But the point is, though, that you can take breaks and intervals and things like that, because sometimes, like, for a kid, like, especially say a really young kid, maybe they're in, like, first or second grade, you know, 6, 7 years old, they might just need to play the exact same 4 notes over and over and over again. And that's the thing that's going to get them the best progress. And so they're going to do that, like, 3 times and be like, okay, are we done? And it's like, that's not anywhere
No, I need you
close
to do those 4 notes for another 10 minutes.
Right. And sometimes it's like, I need you to do that for another 18 minutes. And you're like, it's only been 2 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
But you can get them to do it and sit in 5-minute intervals or, 10-minute intervals, right? And so you can divide that up into bits and pieces so it doesn't seem so daunting.
Right.
What's the best way to eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Right. Match their attention span to the amount. So if you want to practice 20 minutes today, you can break that up into, okay, after lunch, we're going to practice for 5 minutes. Before you go outside, we're going to practice for 5 minutes. Or after you come back in, we're going to practice for 5 minutes. So you can break it up into smaller pieces if your student has a harder time sticking with something for a full 20 minutes at a time.
Yeah, and that's a great way to put it too. Match it to their attention span.
Yeah.
Right? That's a great way to put it. Now, the only downside about that is that, if you're having a hard time sticking to getting them to sit down once for 20 minutes, getting them to sit down 4 times throughout the day might be a little bit more difficult. But again, even if you just say divide that in 2, and let's say that they have homework, it's like, okay, well, then the first thing we do is guitar playing.
Sure.
And then we let them do their homework. And then at the end, we do another 10 minutes worth of guitar playing, right?
Sandwich it.
Yeah, sandwich it, absolutely. And by the way, too, when you first start working with your kids, it may take, you may have to sit and physically watch them play for the first month that they go. I think sometimes parents just assume they know how to do homework, so therefore they'll know how to practice, and they're not the same skills.
No.
And I mean, sometimes to the parents' credit too, the parents might also not know how to practice either, right?
Yeah.
But you do have to kind of sit down and a lot of times watch your kids and make sure that they practice, and then eventually you can trust them to do it. But I can't tell you how many times where it's I'll say hey, Billy or whoever's, in front there, whoever's taking lessons with me, right? I don't think I've ever actually had a student named Billy, but, for anonymity, we'll say he's Billy. I need to go and grab a drink of water real quick. I need to go use the restroom real quick. I have to step out for a second, right? I want you to practice this piece while I go and do that. And so I'll walk away and sometimes just to test them, I'll sit there and I'll listen. What are they doing when they think I'm gone? And a lot of times they're doing nothing, or they're just doing random things on the instrument. They're not practicing at all what I tell them. And so you might think, my kid is practicing 20 minutes a day. Why are they not making progress? It's maybe they're not actually practicing for 20 minutes. Maybe they're just they do it once or twice, and then they think that's enough, and then they just do whatever for the other 18 minutes.
I think that informs a lot of the policy that we have here, where if kids are under a certain age, the parent needs to be in the lesson with them.
100%.
That's part of why, is because if you as a parent are in the lesson, noticing and listening to what we're talking about and what we're going through with your child, then you can help them at home. Hey, remember your teacher said this. Hey, remember your teacher said that. And so you can help them go through that lesson that we did together at home, until it becomes more of a natural thing for them to say, we did this in the lesson, I'm going to do that.
Yep.
So that's definitely part of why we have that.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So any other points that you want to add here, or?
Not that I can think of at the moment.
No, I'm sure probably as soon as we turn the cameras off, I'll be like, oh, I should have added that extra one. Or I should have thought of that, But if not, we can say that for a part 2 video sometime. So.
Yeah, sounds good.
But anyways, cool. All right. Well, happy end of summer. That didn't go well together. Happy start of school. That might have gone better for some than others. But hopefully, parents, if you're watching this, hopefully you guys can get your kids off on the right foot. We're just trying to give you our professional opinions. We've been doing this for a long time. I know me personally, I've been doing this for a decade and a half, and so I've got a pretty good idea as to what works and what doesn't work. And so hopefully these ideas, these tips, you can take our advice and go forward and give your kids the best chance for for success. So I think that'll wrap it up for us. It's definitely been over the time that we always allot ourselves for these episodes. My name is Alex Bennett.
And I'm Robyn Bennett.
And we'll see you in the next episode. Later.